Hello and welcome to Connect and Collaborate. I am Alex Hopkins, your on-air producer for the Connect and Collaborate show. And today we have with us one of our favorite guests, Anthony Lambatos. Anthony, how are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you doing, Alex?
Fantastic as well. So, Anthony, let's talk about Footers Catering.
Thank you.
Going on.
But it's a fun time of year for us because the first quarter tends to be a little bit slower, and so it's really our time to work on projects that'll impact us for the rest of the year. And so it's cool to see our teams working together. The culinary team working with our sales team on new menu items, and our warehouse team doing a whole reorganization and working with our sales team on what we need to purge and what we need to spruce up, and processes that are continuing to be improved are really cool. I mentioned, I think last month, just we've done a whole restructure and promoted a number of our people, and so that's been really cool to see that it really kind of take hold and people settle into their roles, and it's exciting. So there's a lot of good stuff. We're gearing up for a great year. Wedding season will be here before we know it. So.
Oh goodness, wedding season! I only have about 8 invitations that I got to buy the dresses and I got to get the plane tickets and but
yep,
good business for you, I'm sure.
It's a good time of year for us. That
Yes.
is for sure.
Now, the last time we talked to you, you were headed to Vegas.
That's right.
How did that go?
It was awesome. We took 10 people to the CaterSource Catering Convention that happens every year, and this year was in Las Vegas, so that was a lot of fun for our team.
Oh, I bet.
And we were represented very well. We had 3 of our people, including myself, presenting, and then we had 2 of our people that were awarded scholarships through the International Catering Association, which was really cool. And then Colbert, our director of sales and marketing, was an ambassador, and so she was helping people navigate the conference. So it's a great opportunity for us, but it's also cool because we've established a pretty good reputation nationally as a catering company that people should take notice of, and it's flattering when people are asking us questions about how we do business and specifically our culture and what we've built. So yes,
Fantastic.
It was awesome. We did not win our award. But it was an honor to be nominated. We were up for best multi-day event and best signature event.
Awesome.
We were a top 3 finalists, but the people that won.
Which is a huge honor.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We lost best signature event to a caterer out of South Africa. Seeing some pictures was pretty remarkable what they did. So we're okay with that.
I didn't realize it was international.
Yes.
Okay, so that's a whole nother ball game, right?
Right.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations. That is a huge honor.
Yes.
Yeah. Fantastic.
So, thank you.
Well, and as you said, you always get asked about your company culture, and that is why we have you on the show, right? Talk about company
what I love
culture.
talking about. Yeah,
Exactly.
and it's fun because we always try to weave in a different angle to it. And I think today's topic about delivering awesome customer service and taking care of people is going to be a great conversation.
Fantastic. So who is your guest today?
Yes, I am very excited. One of my favorite people in business. We've got Tony Giarratano here, who's the Senior Vice President for the Southeast Market at FirstBank. And I've had a chance to, I've known Tony for a number of years through the Denver Advisory Board. And we, bonded early on the ski slopes on the annual ski day. And I was trying to, chase him down the bump runs, keep up with him. But just a phenomenal person to know and somebody that I have a lot of respect for. So, Tony, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's been great getting to know you a little bit better over the past 5 or so years, and enjoying some time outside in Colorado with all the activities we have. So, happy to be here.
Awesome. Well, let's go ahead and jump right in, because I know, in our conversations, customer service is something that's been, we've had a lot of discussion about it and how it can, really make or break deals. And to an extent, too, we'll get into, us being dumbfounded by some people's inability to give great service. Sure. But let's just jump in. What do you think it takes to deliver great customer service?
I think it's all about, first of all, listening. And just understanding that customer service is a verb to me. It's an action. And to me, I don't feel like a lot of people in the retail business in general kind of take that mindset, that approach that you're there to help somebody. You're there to fulfill a need and make them feel better. So I think that's a big part for me.
And when you say that listening, actually listening, dive into that a little bit, because I think we say we listen, but how do we really listen to what somebody needs?
Yeah. So I learned this early on in my career. I'm a solution-oriented person. Like I start to hear people, with problems, or even at home, even in my relationships, you hear the problem and you immediately jump to solution mode. I can solve this. But I think that's a trap. And I think you got to sit back and you have to listen and ask questions. And to me, the biggest thing that I've learned in my career is just listening. And then as somebody's telling you something, repeat it back. Say, if I heard you correctly, this is what I think I heard. This is where you're frustrated. This is the need you have. Do I have that right? And it's amazing to me, just asking that question, how that can move you into the next phase where you say, okay, I do have some ways that we can maybe tackle that.
And I love that, because it shows that you're actively listening and paying attention to what they're saying. We have something we talk about at Footers, don't be the advice monster, and it primarily, is when you're coaching people internally, but I think it also applies to externally of, are we making too many assumptions about what we think people need as opposed to what they really need? There's a big distinction there.
There is.
And so to ask those questions, somebody can say, like we talk about at Footers, I want something that's really high end. Like, okay, well, your high end might be different than my high end. And so let's ask more questions about what does that mean to you? When you go out for a fancy dinner, where do you go? To celebrate a special occasion, where do you go? And that'll give us a lot of indication on what that expectation is. So I think that's a great point.
And what I found with people too is I don't think, they know they're upset or they know they have a need, but they're trying to verbalize it as well, and so when you take that moment to repeat it back to them, it allows them to say, or no, it's 80% there, but I something like this I feel like would really help me. Mm-hmm. And I think that helps the customer say, okay, I'm hearing you, I'm with you,
and more willing to buy.
Sure.
So talk about some of the experience you feel like you've had where you've really been impressed with customer service.
I think it's about giving that, as a customer, giving me a feeling that I'm really taken care of. So at restaurants, I just think of an attitude, somebody that's happy, that's welcoming, that's warm, that takes time to explain some different things, and offer you some things that may not be on the menu, so to speak. And I think that can fill into other businesses and industries as well.
Yeah, I think that added value that you're talking about, and we're going to get into a little bit of managing expectations later in the show. But coming in and I mean, you're talking about simple things here: being happy, a smile. Are you enjoying yourself? Are you excited that somebody else is coming here? Makes such a huge difference.
Sure. As
opposed to somebody that's frustrated and doesn't want to be there. Alex, I know you can attest to this as well, with your side gig being a flight attendant.
Yeah, I am a flight attendant. One of the things that we focus on, obviously, is customer service. And about 5 years in, I had trouble. I love the point that you made about actively listening, because I knew everyone's trouble. I knew what you were going to say to me. I already knew, right? And so I would just jump in with these things, and the question they had was nowhere near what I thought it was going to be. And so customer service is huge, but in the banking system, I find that to be interesting, where you can find good customer service, for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, talk about that. I mean, I know you're with FirstBank. What do you think sets FirstBank apart when it comes to the customer experience?
Sure. And I think to just explain a little bit about FirstBank, I don't
please
want to jump into a 5-minute spiel on it, but just to give you an idea of kind of where we're coming from at FirstBank. So we're a privately held institution. We started in 1963 in Lakewood, Colorado. We have 115 locations here in Colorado. Now we have some locations in Phoenix and in Palm Desert. So we're $17 billion in assets right now. So anytime you go over, 10 billion, you kind of cross a threshold from, a small bank to what they consider a medium-sized bank. And so I feel like we have a great competitive edge because we're based here in Colorado, Phoenix, and Palm Desert, so we have a local feel, but we're a big enough size where we have enough critical mass where we can offer some of the things that the bigger banks have. So as far as customer service, banking is so commoditized. I was thinking about that on the way over here. I think of footers, and I'm like, man, I've been to a lot of events where you guys have catered food, and I've been to other events where there's another caterer. Your product can be a differentiator.
Uh-huh.
Your food, what they're buying, what they're buying from you is different. In our industry, I'd like to say that we've got some products that are a little bit different, but in the end, we're offering checking and savings accounts. We're paying roughly the same rates depending on what the market's doing. Our loans, we have similar features, similar prices. We watch what everybody else is doing. We're selling the exact same thing as a bank down the street.
Right.
So the only thing we have is customer service. And it's the experience that we can provide. So to me, it's essential. It's ground into us from the day we start with the company. But it's huge.
And so, talk a little bit about that being, grounded into the company. And, one of the things you said, local feel. What does a local feel mean to you?
Yeah, this is a great part. And it's hard to say, hey, look how great we are. Look at what we do. But I am biased, of course. But I think it's amazing to me how people need to look at what the bank is doing with their dollars. How are they investing their time and their money? And so FirstBank, since 2000, we have donated $60 million back to charitable organizations that are right here in our community. Our bank is only as strong as our community. If the community is strong and vibrant and the economy is great, then there's going to be loan demand, there's going to be deposit demand. But if that changes, you can imagine our profitability goes way down. Mm-hmm. So we believe in getting involved in the community. All of our officers in the company are involved in charitable organizations. We sit on boards. We're active. We go to events, and we donate money back to the community. There's other companies in Colorado that do that as well. It's not like we're the best, but we're certainly up there. And I think that is a really unique aspect to what we do and who we are.
Yeah. So you talked about the service. All you have is service. What are those things? How do you say, come open your bank account here and not at the bank down the street?
Yeah. So our role there as a retail operation, we used to have a lot of people that would walk in. So 10 years ago, 20 years ago, it was probably even more, where people had a loan need and they'd walk in and say, hey, I need help with this. That doesn't happen anymore. We have to go out and we're business developers, and we get referrals, and it's all about you got to have a good product, right? You got to have a loan that's going to fit their need, but that's kind of already set in stone in the first couple minutes of a conversation. Like, hey, you're looking for a loan, okay? Well, how long do you need it for? What are you looking at? That's kind of done. So in the first 2 minutes of a conversation, we've kind of got that outlined. From there, it's just trying to build a rapport, and then trying to help them and make sure that we meet their expectations. And I'm amazed at the different customers that I deal with. Expectations are different, both in the form of communication, how often, what type of communication. Is it by phone? Is it by email? Is it by text message? How do you want to communicate with me? Do you want me just to leave you alone and tell you when something flares up? Or do you want something every week that's like, hey, we're good, but I may need this, and this. So to me, it's about understanding from your customer what is their expectation in delivering.
Sure. And I think the other thing, we've had a number of conversations about your approach and the legwork that you do to really understand somebody's business. Not only, those preferences are so key, but, most times it's, like you said, so commoditized. It's just about the business. It's just about the relationship. But when you really understand the dynamics of the person running the business, and I experienced this firsthand and had a terrible interaction in terms of banking early on in my career when we were having some challenges, and our current bank just didn't understand where we were going and what we were trying to do. And because of it, it scarred my whole, thought with that.
Sure.
That entire bank, and I will never do business with that bank again. But it was on the flip side, I had somebody that was willing to understand what we were doing and take a chance on me. And I think that that's where you're, getting to with that difference of that customer service differentiator is, do you have somebody that's going to go to bat for you and try to figure it out, or just play exactly cut and dry by what the rule book says and say no go or go?
Yeah, you got to dig in. You got to understand your customer and what their needs are, and and deliver, and build that relationship with them.
And the other thing, you were saying the other day that I really appreciated was, your lenders are looking to find ways to help people as opposed to look for ways to not do a deal. And most times, and I don't know because I'm not in the industry, but what you were saying is many other banks and bankers look at it the other way of like, let me find the reason not to give this to just minimize our risk and turn on to the next deal that's a slam dunk.
Yeah, and it's not an excuse, but there are a lot of regulations that have been added and a lot more work, a lot more compliance in the past few years. And I think, we can, in the banking industry, you can look at that and complain about it, or you can look at it and say, you know what, there's probably some good reasons behind the majority of what's out there. And in every landscape, whether, we're in a good economy and going, or whether the economy slows down, there's rules. There's rules in our industry. I'm sure there's rules in your industry, and you could sit there and complain about them, or you can understand them and then find out how to still succeed within that framework.
Sure. So, talk about where you think, that was one example, but where do organizations typically fall short when it comes to delivering customer service and great service?
I think it's, like this weekend, I was with my son and we went into a retail outlet to buy some baseball equipment for him. And we walked around the store and there's 10 different employees in there. And not one person looked up and said, hey, can we help you with something? And I don't know the layout of the store. I know what I need, but I don't know what type of product or what would be best. And to me, when in retail is an interesting, it's an interesting commodity right now in our economy, because we've got all these spaces with retail, but online sales are going up, and so you have these stores where you can walk in, and it's just amazing to me that most people don't consider the customer walking through the door as somebody, man, I really got to take care of and I got to help. So, what we try to do at FirstBank is greet customers right away, help them, listen to them, and don't waiting just drives me crazy. I hate to wait.
It's terrible.
Well, yeah. I'd like to throw in just a little bit of maybe devil's advocate here, but I find that if I go into a store and it's a store that I am familiar with, I hate being bombarded by 6 different people. How can I help you today? What do you need today? I'm like, I literally am here to get shoes. I know where they are. I'm going to get them, purchase them, and I'm going to leave. Thank you very much. And I think some of that is whether they're commission-based or not.
Sure.
Right? So that makes a difference in the retail world for sure.
That's a very good point.
Yeah. So I do see where the lack, especially if you don't know a store, you don't know where you're going, and you want someone to help you out. But on the other flip end, when you've got 10 people on top of you asking you every 30 seconds what they can do for you, that's a little overwhelming as well. So I think finding a balance is key in that customer service realm for sure.
Yeah, it's so true. We talk about the hotels that you go to and you're in a line 6 deep and there's somebody that's just kind of wandering aimlessly behind there, not helping anybody. And it's like, what's this guy doing? Or the guy that's sitting there just looking down, not even acknowledging that you're there. You may be the only person there, and he's sitting there doing whatever he's doing, and it's like, come on now.
At least tell me to hang on for a few seconds.
Right?
Yeah.
Greeting. I mean, it's something so simple, but companies miss out on, so much of that time. That over communication. We had, it was a just nightmare. We were trying to rent a car. We were on vacation, and they had their system down so that their computers couldn't communicate with the people that were down giving out the cars, and so it caused this just ridiculous line. And I feel like all they would have had to do was come out and explain to everybody in the line what was going on, because everybody's getting frustrated. What's going on? And they just wouldn't say anything. The guy, there was a manager on duty sign. He actually took his name off of there and went in the back. I was like,
no.
You've got to be kidding me.
That's horrible.
You just ran from the situation as opposed to embracing it and saying, hey, we're going to figure out how to make this work.
one thing I've definitely learned coming from the airline side of things, communicate with your people.
Yes.
We have a lot of pilots that will come back and they'll give all these acronyms and nobody knows what they're saying, right? Our BPU is down and we need the ABP to get it done, and we're waiting on crew. And it's like, no, guys, air conditioning. We're just waiting on the air conditioning to run so we can get some fuel and we'll be out of here. So I have to do that communication between the pilots and the passengers, because they'll make the announcement why we're delayed, but nobody knows what they're saying. So I'm like, oh, I promise you it's just a computer glitch. Totally fine. We'll be out of here in a few minutes. Or computer glitch, I don't know. We'll be out of here in an hour or two.
Yeah.
But as long as you're communicating what the problem is,
Exactly.
your people will be that much happier.
So I think there's a common thread with what you guys said, and I think you made an excellent point that you don't want to bombard them. You don't want to, because there is a line where you go from serving the customer to making it feel salesy or pushy, and I'm with you. I'd rather have nothing than feel over the top. But I think the greeting, you said it, I think all you have to do sometimes is just say, hi, how are you? Can we help you with anything today? And it's amazing just how that question, because you're going to get the people like me that are like, yep, I need help.
Yes.
This is what I need. I don't want to look around here for 15 minutes. And then there's going to be someone like you that's been in there that's like, nope, I'm good. But at least you give them the opportunity to tell you what they need.
Yeah, once or twice, not a problem. I think the lack of communication sometimes between your employees can impede that as well.
And there's some nuance there that we're going to get into in a minute here with training. Can you be aware of that? I mean, one of the things, this is customer service. We can slap that label on it, but you said taking care of people. Like, are we taking care of people? And I think that you can tell when that person walks in and needs some help. But are you picking your head up and aware of that? We talk about it at Footers all the time. You can scan the room and see, is somebody trying to wave you down? They need something. They're looking for somebody. They're, obviously uncomfortable. We've got to teach our people to be aware of that so that they can then approach that and not be approaching every table the same way. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden becoming a nuisance. Yeah. And so that nuance of taking care of people starts with, are you paying attention and are you reading those cues? Mm-hmm. So, I want to talk a little bit about paying extra for customer service. And, when does customer service become an expectation? And, then when does it begin to bleed into something that like, hey, this is something I'm actually going to pay more for and fork over additional dollars for?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point, and I think we at FirstBank believe that our service is worth something. Mm-hmm. We try to deliver on that. The interesting thing about our industry is you can get on a computer and find rates in a couple minutes.
Right.
And so you kind of know where you're at. And there are banks in our industry, and then in any other industry, there are companies that'll run to that bottom level, of where the market is, and that's where they're going to price. And then there's others that, are a little bit more. But I think there is a value to customer service, and I think we find that our customers agree. And I think you just have to align your organization, like, what type of customers do we want? What type of customers want us? And then go after those. And mm-hmm. the ones that fit you and you work with them well, be as loyal as you can to them.
I think that's a great point, and it's extremely evident in the hotel world. You pay for Ritz-Carlton and you pay for Motel 6. You get a different experience at each one, mm-hmm. but neither one is trying to be the other. They're trying to deliver the appropriate level of service for what their customers expect. And so staying in that lane, I think it's easy for those hotels and the differentiated brands, but it's a lot tougher for other businesses to necessarily hone in on, here's what I do, here's who we serve, and here's how we do it really well.
Fantastic. This is a great conversation. We're going to take a quick break here on Connect and Collaborate. We have Anthony Lambatos from Footers Catering and Tony Giarratano. Tony Giarratano.
Yeah, you just got to say it fast and nobody will know.
We have Tony Giarratano with us from Southeast Market FirstBank Senior Vice President. Stay tuned. I am Alex Hopkins. Welcome back to Connect and Collaborate. And today we have with us Anthony Lambatos from Footers Catering, and we are talking about customer service today in the company culture. And we have Tony Giarratano from Giarratano.
Yep.
Got it. I'm getting there. Senior Vice President from the Southeast Market for FirstBank. And we're having a great conversation. We dug in really deep on customer service here, and I think we got a lot of great insight. Where are we going next, Anthony?
Yeah, so I want to talk a little bit about training, and we talked touched on it a little bit in the last segment with that being aware. But I want to talk to Tony and hear how you guys really train people to give great service. You mentioned that it was ingrained in you from when you start. Tell us a little bit how that happens at FirstBank.
So I think from the retail operations at the branch level, somebody walking into the bank, that's where, about half of our company works is out in the bank. And then we have half the company that also works, at the holding company with background support. But, when we start at the banks, you get to watch and see how we do things. And I think for me, the key is that the leaders in our branches have to embody that customer service. I mean, everybody is watching. It's kind of like I think of my kids. They may not listen to everything I say, but they're watching everything that I do. And I think you have to have that on your front lines. Your leaders have to be the best at customer service, and then they vault to the next level. And then everybody knows that that's the standard. And you have to have set high expectations and then hold people accountable.
I have a question. Burnout. A little bit, maybe, when you've got somebody on those front lines for a really long time, and it's easy to get burned out really quickly in customer service, right? You get a little berated and beat up by people sometimes that are angry. You're dealing with money, and people are very possessive of money, right? So how do you ensure that those leaders consistently stay on top of their game?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think for us, we're a promote from within organization. So we've found that our best people move up into different roles quickly. Now, that doesn't mean that, somebody that's been around, I'm thinking of the person I work with every day that is our branch manager. She's been around for, 15 years, and she's been a teller. She's been a new account rep. She's, been a customer service rep. But it doesn't mean that she's doing it all day, every day. But, right. If the rest of the staff is busy and somebody walks in and kind of like you were saying earlier, they have that look, she's the first one to get up and say, how can we help you? But you're right. I mean, if you're dealing with it every day, I mean, it can be challenging.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the differentiation from retail of how things used to be to now having to really go out and solicit it. What do you think has changed about how you've trained people to deliver a great service over the years?
I think you got to have the ability to communicate in different forms. You have to be good in person. You have to be good on the phone. You have to be professional over email. You have to be responsive. But the other thing I've noticed is a lot of the customers that we work with, typically, now this is, I'm overgeneralizing here, but we're working with older people, So for me, for example, I'm 37 years old. For most of my career, I've been working with customers that are older than me. And, I think dealing with that mindset that, hey, I've got to be good from the get-go. I've got to instill confidence from the first meeting and show them that I can handle this. And I think part of that is understanding your industry, understanding the economy, and being able to show people that you want to help them and maybe not sell them.
Sure. And understand that. I think there's a lot to be said about, understanding who you're dealing with too. I had very similar interactions growing up in the catering business, where a lot of our clients, were quite a bit older than me, especially when I started, and our clientele was heavily, corporate and social. Our wedding business has grown considerably, and so now it's shifting to the other side of that, where you mentioned now text is coming into play, and the number of clients we have that want to communicate via text is astounding to me. And it's not a way I would think people historically have ever bought catering, but now are open to that, building that relationship over text with their coordinator. So I think that's fascinating, even in banking, for you to mention that's coming into the forefront, and you're having clients that are wanting that.
Yeah, it is something that we've seen in the last few years, usually not really before that as far as the texting component, but it has become a little bit more prevalent.
Yeah. Have you had to make any adjustment, holistically as a company to accommodate for that? Or is that just everybody knows what to do and you just go with it?
Yeah, not yet.
Okay.
We've got 2,000 employees and a little bit, obviously bigger company, but we haven't run with any new standards on that. We're kind of taking it as it comes.
No emojis.
That's probably a good point.
Don't put the cash emoji on there. So, you talked about the senior leaders having to demonstrate and make that, example for the rest of the team. When you're hiring somebody, do you feel like that you're looking for a few things in particular that this is a good nuance that somebody's going to give great service, or are you okay with somebody that's raw and hey, let's just bring them in and our system will train them?
Yeah, so we're looking for people. We're looking for good people that have the skills to talk one-on-one and inspire confidence. We feel like we can train the banking skills. Especially with our loan officers, it's okay. And a lot of them, the vast majority, don't have banking experience because we'd rather teach you the FirstBank way on banking. But if you have the soft skills, I think we can give you all the information and spend some money on you to really instill what type of education you need in banking.
Yeah.
But the soft skills are really tough. If you don't have those, it's really tough in this industry to learn that.
Most industries, I would say. Anything that's customer facing. We talk about that all the time, that, I can't train you how to have positive attitude. I can train you how to put plates down. I can train somebody how to sell different menu items, but, I can't train some of that innate qualities that you talk about. That is, how do you build rapport with somebody?
Making sure that it's not fake, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I get teased a lot for my flight attendant smile. Welcome aboard.
That's good.
I do get teased a little bit about that, but generally I find that I do have a genuine smile when people are coming on board my plane. I like to make sure that they have that good experience. I work on a smaller aircraft, and so it's just me, right? I'm the only flight attendant on there. And more often than not, I get thanked at the end of the day, right? Even though my smile may come off a little plastic, especially when it's 4 a.m., but that genuineness is really hard to find.
It is.
But training yourself to do that over and over and over gets you in the habit.
Right.
My director of sales and marketing, she worked for Cherry Creek Grill, and she, raved about, their training. And if you watch her, there's a number of pictures where she's putting a plate down and she's just got this big smile on her face. And most people have a very serious look and they're focused on what they're doing. But that training was so ingrained to just always be smiling. And it really is genuine. It's not a show that she's putting on, but that training is there. We, for a while, had, we talk about that you can hear a smile, that if somebody's smiling on the phone, you can hear them. And so we put mirrors by all of our coordinators' desks so that to remind them to smile when they were on the phone, as just one of those reminders of like, hey, get in the habit of doing this because it makes a difference.
Well, when they say when you're having a bad day, right? Just smile a little bit, hold that smile for a few minutes, and then you physically change, right? You start thinking more positively. Mm-hmm. There's a lot to say about a smile.
Yeah. So, let's talk about how creating a great place to work has an impact on customer service. That's obviously something that's near and dear to my heart and company culture. Tony, I'm curious on your end, what do you think it takes for a company to create a great place to work?
I think it's the people, and so like we started talking about hiring. What type of people do you want in the mix? Because if you surround yourself with good people that just are authentic, you kind of touched on it, Alex, that's contagious. And you could be banking, flight attendant, catering. It's still the people. And what we do every day, like, when I was little, I didn't, I want to be a banker. I want to,
That wasn't the dream?
No. And it's not the thing, as I look back, I've been with the company for 11 years. It's, banking, it's tough to get a lot of juice out of, banking. I mean, let's right, it's kind of boring.
Doesn't have great connotations.
No, but it's the people that, when I think of the company that get me up in the morning, that they're just good people to be around every day. They make me better as a person, and I look at leaders in the organization that are beyond us, where I'm at now, and I see where I want to go, and I see how they act and how I need to grow to get there. And that's the kind of stuff that I feel like in any company, it's the people that make it work.
Yeah, I love that you say that, because we talk, I think I mention it every time that, it's always beyond the ping pong table, that, everybody wants to put the ping pong table in and say, we're a great place to work, come look at us. And so much of a great place to work is not about the perks. It's not about the benefits. It's about the work that you do as an individual and who you do it with, and how does that go together. And when we're in the trenches, and I look at what you're doing and I'm like, that's really awesome, that's really cool, and that complements what I'm doing over here, that's where you get this awesome euphoria of we're doing really great things. And I think that's exactly what you're speaking to, that when you're working with people that you respect, that you trust, that you enjoy, all of a sudden you look forward to that experience coming in on a Monday, and it's not a case of the Mondays.
Yeah, I'm interested too, and I'd love to pick your brain on this. We talk about, okay, what kind of a culture do you want? And then, you try to instill that like in your company, but what do you do when you see something that doesn't fit the culture that you want, that doesn't, the employee doesn't deliver the service that you want? What do you guys do?
That's a good question. So we take that very seriously, because, at one point we did have the ping pong table and the foosball. It was like, all they doing just goofing off over there, and we take so much pride in the fact that we deliver such an awesome experience. And so, yeah, there's times where when it doesn't happen, our people are really held accountable. And it's not just by April and I. I think that's the unique thing, that because it's such a tight-knit group of people, they're willing to call each other out when it doesn't work, or when somebody's not, picking up the slack. They see that, and that's where I feel like we've been so fortunate that our culture has evolved beyond us just trying to set the tone, and it's all of our people that are almost self-policing each other when this stuff comes up and saying, hey, no, this has to be done this way, or no, that's not going to work. It's got to be over here. At some points, yes, you have issues where somebody has to go. We call it CDE, career development elsewhere.
It's very polite of you.
It's a very quick way to learn, I'm sure.
I was recently given a presentation, and there's a clip from Up in the Air, which is the George Clooney movie where he goes around firing people. That's his job. Mm-hmm. And he has this interaction where they're firing the guy, and he's obviously frustrated and upset, and thinking worst case scenario. And George Clooney just turns to him. He goes, how much did they pay you to originally give up on your dreams? And he, traced it back to that he worked in one of the most high-end fine dining restaurants before he started this, and then he started whatever job he was in, and his real passion was cooking and being in the food business. And so sometimes I think people make decisions and are not a cultural fit because they're not in the right spot for them personally. Mm-hmm. And so we see that as an opportunity to help them get on the right path for them of you're an awesome person. This is nothing against you, but if this isn't what you want to be doing, let's help you find what you really want to be doing, or what's going to make you happy and fulfill your dreams. And so I think that comes into play. We've had a handful of issues there where somebody just isn't meshing with the culture, and those conversations about, do you really want to be doing this? Is this really where you want to be? And at the end of the day, a lot of times it's not. It's
amazing though how one person can really change the culture. So that kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier, that the leaders have to embody it, and they're all watching. So if somebody doesn't fit, they know. They really, as your staff, they can't make that decision a lot of times. That's on you. But the longer you leave that in the mix, just the tougher it gets.
We learned that lesson the hard way. We let somebody that was phenomenal at their job, did a great job, never had issues with quality of work, but just, awful to be around, and grumpy all the time. No one wanted to approach him, and at some point, we were sending the message that this was okay. That we have respect on our wall, but that doesn't apply over here, and it's a mixed signal. And you said it, your actions are going to speak louder than words. And so for us, I think when we finally did terminate him, it was I think everybody was shocked, but everybody also realized like, oh wow, they're serious about this. This is not going to be tolerated before. And other people that were maybe kind of on the fence a little bit got the message.
It is amazing how the culture changes. Like, I mean,
Immediately.
quickly. You know, after that person, whatever it was that didn't fit, everybody just kind of breathes a breath of fresh air. And
somebody told me once, when was the last time you fired somebody too soon? It's like, fair point.
yeah, that's a good point.
Too many times, we know early on it's not a good fit, and we try to write it out, we try to correct it, and it's like this is a lost cause.
And that's the hard part is you want the culture, you envision it, you start it, it grows, but then maintaining it is the thing that's where the tough part is.
We made that mistake too, where it's, hey, we're there. We got a great place to work. Set it, forget it. Let's go move on to something else. And it's like, no, this is something I take one, main lesson that I learn each year. And one year it's not enough to say it once. That it's not enough to just say, hey, here's what we're going to do and walk away. And so culture for us, like we talk about it, I can guarantee somewhere, some point every single day that's reinforced. And, now even we have the middle part of our mission statement is make it better every day. And so the acronym for that is MIBE. And so we have the MIBE tribe, and literally like all of our meetings end with, MIBE tribe on 3, 1, 2, 3, MIBE tribe. And everybody says it, and it's like become this thing that's just taken over. And that was, our team coming up with this and putting it together and say, no, this is what we stand for. And like, now you'll see people, oh, that's awesome. That's a great MIBE. And like, it's good. Like, this is really cool. But it's something that we are continually talking about that all the time.
One of my favorite things I think that you've mentioned a few times on the show is that you give your employees their autonomy, right?
Yeah.
You let them bring things to the table. And I feel like that alone creates, wow, I feel heard. Even though I'm just this person, my idea really went far.
Right.
They heard me out, and I feel like people get happy when they have their things heard and are utilized, right? And so that creates a great place to work.
The empowerment. Yeah.
Exactly.
So, talk a little bit about FirstBank. Why is FirstBank a great place to work? You've been there for almost 11 years, you said. I mean, they got to be doing something right.
Yeah. The first thing that I was thinking about as we're talking today is the fact that we're employee owned, privately held institution, and the staff that works for the bank, the longer they're around, the more stock in the company they have. Mm-hmm. That's a little unique considering what's gone on in the world over, the last 20 years.
For sure.
But it matters. Part of my net worth is tied up in the company.
Yeah.
And I feel more like an owner. I know I'm a very teeny tiny small piece of the puzzle, but it's just the feeling that
right.
this is something more, and I have a chance to get a bigger piece of the pie if I make it better. Mm-hmm. And I think that's huge. As I look at other companies out there, giving people a little bit of the piece of pie, I think you'll get back so much more. People will just dig in at a different level. So that's the first thing I think of. And then, people that do it right, and that's easy to say. And, a lot of people say, yeah, we do things right. We take care of, but we try that. We really try to embody to have great ethical behavior and make the right decision. And sometimes the right decision isn't necessarily a profitable one, but it's one that we need to make because that's what we believe in.
Yeah, I saw a saying there that right, not easy, and that's a tough thing when, here's the easy way out. We can just do it this way, but is that the right thing to be doing?
Yeah.
And that's where it comes back to the people, right? Because you want those people that just, they know what's right and what's a little bit outside. And that's the kind of stuff that it's tough to train that.
Well, and when somebody cuts corners, it's going to cost somebody else, right? If we're working together on a project and this guy cuts the corner, somebody's going to have to pick up that slack. And, that's what starts to erode that company culture. So you're right. When you have those bad apples in there, they got to go. Mm-hmm.
When I like the investing in your company, right? One of the pieces of advice that my dad gave me when I very first started working. I was going over, 401k, and that's all new to me, and stock options and that kind of thing. And he told me, he was like, you know what, put a percentage into stock into your company. And I was like, well, why? And he was like, well, if you're not going to put stock in your invest in your company, why work for them in the first place?
Such a good point.
And that was probably one of my favorite pieces of advice that I got from him. The other one was, if you're going to go to a casino, don't take any more money than you'd throw off a bridge. I thought I'd never throw money off a bridge. And he said, well, then don't go to a casino. But yeah, that investing in your company, right?
Well, and
lovely.
It's funny, we think about investment only in monetary terms.
There's other ways.
Where the investment of your time is probably so significantly greater, to go work for that company than the dollars you were putting in.
Absolutely.
But we almost devalue that because it's not, something tangible that we can hold in our hand.
Exactly. But time is so precious anyway, right? If you're going to spend 40 to 60 hours a week somewhere, you better like it.
That's what we say. So talk about a little company culture, creating a great place to work. How does that coincide and translate to customer service?
I think people want to be there, when they're fulfilled, in their career and where they're going in life. I think you just bring your best to the table, and I think it's easy then to, like you said, it could be 4 a.m. I've got a fake smile on, but you don't have to do that as much as if you're really engaged in what you're doing, and and then you can go home at the end of the day feeling like, man, I accomplished something today.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The first line of our mission statement is love what you do. And so for us, if our team is loving their job and enjoying it, then we're going to be just as excited, if not more excited, about the events than our clients are. And I think that makes a huge difference, that, when you come in, and we talked earlier on about being happy and welcoming and warm and smiling, and when you're having fun, it's contagious, and people want to be around that, and so it manifests itself. And something that I think April and I kind of stumbled upon a little bit, we wanted to create this great place to work, and originally it was kind of selfishly like, we're going to spend a lot of time here, we want it to be fun. And I think we underestimated the power of what that would do for our customers. And it's been amazing to see, since I've read a lot of books, so there's one that's employees first, customers second, and I think that that's something that we've embraced so much, and because of that, our customer service has been even better, as opposed to just going straight and it's all about the customer. We believe if we take care of our people, they're going to take care of our customers.
Well, and customers pick up on it. Like I think of our banks, and I've worked in some bank lobbies. There's just a different mix where it's a little bit more reserved and not very many people are talking. And I've worked in others that it's great, it's vibrant, people are laughing and joking, and sometimes our staff is like, oh wait, there's a customer. It's like, it's okay. You can laugh. You can you can have fun with one another. You can. I mean, that vibe is actually, it could be good, because the customer walks in and says, man, this is a neat place. I kind of like it. And then they come in and then they joke next time around, and that's the stuff that makes it.
When we give tours, years ago I'd do the tour, and every time I'd come into the kitchen, they'd turn the music off or turn it down. And I'm like, no, leave it on. Like, this is like, I don't want to hide anything. I'm trying to show people behind the scenes what's going on here. This is you guys enjoying yourselves. So leave the music on.
Let's be authentic.
That's right.
Let's do
this
it.
is who we are.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, gentlemen. This has been a great show.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you, Tony. Great insight. Really appreciate you joining today. So
yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you. And we will see you next month, Anthony.
Indeed.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a great day.